How to do research as a hobby.
3 topics I'm researching this week.
Research as a leisure hobby is absolutely game-changing for my mental health.
Today, I want to talk about intellectualism. I see more and more content online about online intellectualism, either through the rise of the expert influencer or research as a leisure activity trend. Learning has become cool again.
What, like it's hard?
It seems like we are tired of seeing influencers who just show us their brand deals, and we want to see experts who share their professional knowledge online. There is also this trend of knowledgemaxxing, where people share about their learnings. Yet despite this growing popularity of online intellectualism and the expert influencers are now growing more than ever, it seems like the embracing of learning is conflicting with ever-growing AI and social media fatigue. We see the rise of the anti-intellectualism, decline in literacy among adults and teenagers, villainization of academia.
Philosophy is basically thinking about thinking, which sounds like a waste of time because it is.
And also tuition crisis in US. And one of the ways it's particularly manifested itself, it's in the rise of online media and analog. This video is going to consist of 2 parts. First, we're going to unpack rise in anti-intellectualism and literacy decline and how it ties to the socio-economical class, and also if thinking became a luxury good. And in the second part, we're going to talk about online digital trends and also the rise of a Substack as an intellectual platform and how it's actually not resolving anti-intellectualism. So there's a lot to unpack, and I'm really excited to get into these topics. But before we start, let me tell you about the language learning platform Promova. On Promova, you can learn up to 10 languages, starting from like Chinese to Spanish. And the best part is it's really gamified process, and you can even read books on it, which is my favorite part. And it's also like a Ukrainian brand, which makes me really proud, y'all. So if it's still in your 2026 resolutions and you want to learn a new language, check out my link below, and you can get up to 40% for your subscriptions. I think by now it's a known fact that we live in an age of anti-intellectualism. There's a global report on decline of academic progress in many countries, media illiteracy, young adults and teenagers don't read as much anymore. Why is it happening? The 2 reasons what I will be talking in this video is AI and social media. I mean, when we consume social media, it makes sense that it's designed in a way that it's addictive, but also we have bits of information presented to us in under 1 minute most of the time, which only gives us constant dopamine hit. Actually, we consume way more information than before. Its quality and form has significantly changed and influenced our ability to consume long-form information, like reading books or long text. I don't know if it happens to you, but sometimes for me it happened that I would want to read a book and I constantly get this urge to just scroll on my phone or check the notifications. And it's also not a secret that social media contributes for maximum bias formation over nuanced thinking and thoughtful reasoning. Of course, when it comes to AI, many people use AI too much and rely on AI too much on an everyday basis, even in academic environment. As the New York Times article, What Happens After AI Destroys College Writing, points out that it's not necessarily students' fault that they use AI because they use it for optimize their time at university, and writing some essay for not such important class usually falls under this optimization. But the problem is that this optimization, it might be good in the short term, but in the long term, it's questionable because many using AI as a cognitive offloading tool, but doing so on a regular basis can lead to individuals feeling like they can't do these tasks themselves, like critically think or process information, as a recent study shows.
The rise of AI, the rise of anti-intellectualism, the rise of everything is made just for a profit, and grifters and stuff like that is all linked. It's all linked by the diminishing of your ability to think critically.
But what does it mean for the future when so many people cannot even afford that set education? As a New York Times article, Is Thinking Becoming a Luxury Good points out cognitive harms of digital media. is more pronounced at the bottom of the socioeconomic scale, just like the negative effects of the junk food on health. They write, bluntly, making healthy cognitive choices is hard. In a culture saturated with more accessible and engrossing forms of entertainment, long-form literacy may soon become the domain of elite subcultures. And it's kind of clear that the social media and just scrolling on your phone is way more accessible forms of entertainment than, let's say, even reading or like sports or being offline. And there is a data on this correlation of how much time kids are spending on their phone, depending on how rich are their parents.
Oh my God. What are you doing?
I think at this point it's becoming pretty clear that this online versus offline and critical thinking versus usage of AI is getting its own class stamp. And with first examples like the billionaires are not allowing their kids to have or use phone.
I don't know. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's talk about something else.
The private expensive education like Waldorf schools are banning phones usage in their territories. But what I find specifically interesting is that even though social media and AI makes the class divide further, it's not really a new phenomena. French sociologist Pierre Bourdieu argued that education is not about learning, but it is about elites building their cultural capital. He distinguished between cultural and social capital. Cultural meaning it's all the knowledge and skills and manners that help you to succeed in academical environment. And social, it's about knowing people and have a network. So basically what he says is that if your parents did go to university, it's way more likely for you to also go to university.
So you'll see from the very beginning of college, rich kids have mentors from their high school that have been to that college before that tell them which professors to take, and poor kids get stuck often with the hardest professor.
What it creates is a symbolic violence, which basically means that academia makes us believe that they reward talent based on effort and meritocracy, while in reality it's often about upper middle class in their social and cultural capital. And as a result, working class is made to believe that it's their failure and not meritocracy failure or systematic one.
If I look around this room of Oxford undergraduates, 40% of you were privately educated in a country in which 7% of students have private educations. 80% of you come from meaningful social and economic privilege.
To summarize, if pursuits of academia feel hard for you, that's because they are. And there is all of these social and class constructs that go into this.
Who cares if I'm pretty if I fail my finals?
Oh, okay, you've got this so completely backwards.
Calling academics detached from reality could be fair considering all of this gatekeeping where academics can only review other academics' paper and have access to them, or the legacy admissions in US or tuition crisis in US. But it can also be very dangerous to villainize academic pursuits and intellectualism. So when the actor goes viral for using the word dramaturgically while speaking of their work, speaking of Jeremy Strong here, of course.
I wasn't terribly surprised. I thought it made sense dramaturgically.
And sparks the debate online about earnestness versus pretentiousness, we know that things are weird. It's almost like there is a resentment to someone speaking academical language and they're immediately cast into elitists' box. And here I say in defense of pretension, Ian Arton writes, we have book influencers complaining that the books they are being sent have too many words and paragraphs that are too long. University students who are meant to be the next generation of doctors and lawyers bragging about being reliant on AI. And writers confidentally telling us that they do not read at all. American states banning certain literature from being taught in school. The Taliban banning women from studying to universities. Incels bullying women for getting PhDs or reading more than 100 books in a year. And councils in the UK cutting art funding and closing libraries. Basically, this notion of villainization of intellectual pursuits outside of academia is really bad, y'all, because, well, it only intensifies people who already have access to education and so on to be able to critically think, while others who won't be able to get all of this misinformation spread online and critically comprehend it will be easily manipulated by those in power. Which finally leads me to the second part of this video, online intellectualism. Let's talk about it. What is the correlation between the rising of an intellectualism and this new embrace of learning? We see the rise of online intellectual or people who are sharing their interest of research as leisure activity and knowledge-maxxing. Knowledge-maxxing is a term that came from subverting the self-improvement language of the manosphere and plays with the looks-maxing that is described the pursuit of optimal masculine aesthetic, but instead is driven by self-study and a desire for intellectual empowerment. Before that, we also had the performative male trend about reading in the public, performatively, the media to consume instead of the doom-scrolling trend, and research as a leisure activity that was started by the Substack with a corresponding name. The trend only points out that you don't have to be in academia to do research, and it can be also fun and done for fun.
Researching as a hobby isn't tested or graded, and when you alleviate that pressure from yourself, your passion for learning becomes so much stronger.
I think these trends are reflecting our collective need for a deeper intellectual engagement, as we are all getting tired of brain rotting and AI-generated content. And we want something real and reflect on the significance of critical thinking. After all, ability to read and write and create is deeply human. By using AI, we are being told that it's already done for us, which is what I think is at the core of the popularity of this trend. What also can be said about the rise of online intellectualism is a rise of popularity of video essays, or Substack thought pieces on it. But Substack as of lately started getting this trend of people calling it social media for intellectuals or smart people, which has meanwhile already got its own backlash on the platform where people calling out those people who said it, saying that one platform does not define what kind of content one consumes, which I think is fair, because judging by this logic, then only maybe books or academical papers will start being considered as a smart content. And don't come at me because I love Substack myself. I also have a Substack if you're interested. Follow me on it too.
You cannot try to encourage people to read more and then in the same breath say, no, you can't read that because that's not intellectual enough. Girl, fuck you!
When there is a falsely induced sense of superiority to one platform among others, it not only creates this inequality, but it's a performative intellectualism where one says, okay, I'm better than you because I'm on Substack and not on TikTok. And the romanticization of intellectualism and reading and learning is dangerous because we are romanticizing it in the times when it's the most needed for us. In her Substack essay, What the F, Richard, Why the Most Secret History Fans Are Reading the Novel Ron, Author writes about frightening lack of media literacy in terms of reader response. The Secret History is a book written by Donna Tartt, became a classic and real fast gained a lot of fans, which created this dark academia aesthetic on the TikTok. And they started romanticizing the problematic characters like Harry, which is kind of ironic because the book that was written about dangers of pursuits of aesthetic created its own aesthetics that people started pursuing. Why on earth then is this aesthetic, which is so very clearly condemned, so obsessively pursued after by fans? Easy, and an ability to look past the superficial, or more crudely put, poor media literacy. Just like Richard is drawn by an aesthetic appeal to Hamden and the Greek class, some readers are drawn in blindly by aesthetic appeal of the novel, without even noticing the obvious critique of it. Which also reminds me of American Psycho movie, where the fans idolized, romanticized Patrick Bateman's life, completely discharging initial critique on the yuppies and materialistic lifestyle that movie. Which basically only proves the point that by romanticizing something, one does not become more literate. To sum everything, what we talked about in this video, the rise of intellectualism online, research for fun, or rise of expert influencers happening as there is simultaneously a rise of AI and social media fatigue, and people are tired to see pure marketing and performance. They want to see insights and learn from it. Even though this trends happening online and learning trend might be a bit of a counter movement towards the rise of an anti-intellectualism, it's also just a small group of people, and I think the reality is that we will be seeing more and more class divide of the entertainment and abilities of critical thinking. It's clear that romanticization in this context come also partially from the fact that academia and pursuit of knowledge is becoming more and more inaccessible, a privilege for many people. It's kind of like cooking meals from scratch instead of eating a junk food. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and if you haven't done so, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I release videos more or less on a 2 weeks basis, so see you next time. Bye!